Hi guys, here we are again back in lab, and we've got a new scenario that we're going to try and connect some trace evidence to in order to solve the problem. So here's the scenario. Last night around 8 p.m. a student was found murdered at Craig High School. One of our maintenance staff found this person in one of the bathroom stalls by the field house. Here's the thing, she didn't have her shoes on. But they also determined that that is not where she was killed. That's considered a secondary crime scene. So where was the primary crime scene? Well, they determined that from her socks, they might be able to figure out where she was when she was killed. So it's our job to go collect some carpet lifts. So we're gonna go test the carpeting because the investigators believe that there could be, the crime scene could be the LMC, could be the Kruger Corners, those commons, that common area, or it could be in the student center. Now, all three areas have carpet, so we know we should find fibers in all of those areas, but we might find some other evidence that's present in those areas as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to divide up into teams of 3. Initially, we have to collect the evidence off of the carpeting in order to have a baseline measurement. So we have to have some base evidence to compare. Once we've collected the evidence from those three areas, then you'll get the victim's sock. That's going to be all bagged up and ready to go for you. But here's the thing. You have to learn how to bag evidence. How do we ensure that it is properly maintained so that way it can be used in a court of law? Well, I'm going to show you how. So in the back are all the supplies. You're going to need an evidence bag, and they typically use just a brown paper bag, no big deal. Sometimes they use those manila envelopes, bigger ones, smaller ones, it doesn't matter. The cheaper, usually the better. You're going to need an evidence log. So the evidence logs look like this. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you how to fill that out. You're going to need a piece of paper. This is just recycled paper, so there's random stuff on the other side. Ignore that. We're using it recycled. We're going to use this to bindle up our evidence. So I'm going to show you how to make a paper bindle. And then you're going to need some masking tape and a marker. Now, how do we ensure that the evidence that we collect is not being tampered with by anybody else? Well, this process is what ensures the integrity of the evidence so that it can be used in a court of law in order to convict a suspect. So, we're going to start by taking our tape and our spot paper from the previous lab day, and we're going to go do a carpet lift. So all you have to do is take the piece of tape, cut it off, put it down on the carpet, rub it like we did when we did our clothing, put it on the spot paper. Once you've got that lift, then you're going to create a bindle. So let's say I've got my lift. I've gone to the student center. I'm in charge of the student center. Now I have to make a bindle. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those pieces of paper and you're going to fold it into thirds like this, hot dog style, so lengthwise. Now, I've pre-folded this one, so I'm making it look pretty easy. Then you're going to take and you're going to fold it burrito style into thirds. When you open it up, once you've got your creases in it, you should end up with basically 9 squares. I've marked an X on the other side of the paper on that center square because that's where I'm going to put my evidence. So the purpose of the bindle, why would somebody need to use this? Well, if some of the trace evidence that you're collecting is very fine and small, you don't want to just put it into a big paper bag because when somebody goes to open this to analyze it, it's going to be all over the place and they're not going to be able to find it. What if it was some soil or sand scrapings off of the bottom of somebody's shoe and you needed that to prove that they were at a certain location? Well, if it's down in the bottom of the bag, that's going to be awfully hard to get it out and analyze underneath the microscope. If it's inside the bindle, once I do this and I put my evidence in there, and we're just going to model this by putting our lift in that by that X, and I'm gonna fold up my bindle. And then the thing that you do with this burrito portion is take, and you're gonna make a little envelope out of it. So you wanna take one side and kind of shove it into the opening. So now it's like an envelope, and it's not gonna pop open in the bag. Now it contains whatever evidence I put in here. Now, normally, excuse me, normally they would take tweezers and probably just get down and pick fibers off of the carpet to take a sample. In some cases, they're lifting off of clothing and they're looking for hair, so they're just using tweezers. But they take that hair and put it inside that bindle. We're kind of doing an extra step by doing a lift, but that's so that way we can practice using that kind of electrostatic lifting process. So I've got my bindle. Well, now what do I do with it? So now I want to take it and I put it inside of my evidence bag. So again, I just want to make sure that it's all the way down into the bottom of the bag. And this is where things get tricky, so make sure that you're paying attention. I'm going to take and I'm going to fold my bag, not once, okay? Heavy duty lunch sack here. You got to fold it 2 times. Once it is folded twice, I'm going to take some of my masking tape and I'm going to tape across that surface. So I'm going to go ahead and get a nice big piece of masking tape, and I'm going to fold over that edge, and I'm going to put the tape partially on the fold and partially on the bag. Once I do that, I can wrap the sides around on the back side of the bag. But this is not enough. This alone would not prevent other people from getting into this bag. Somebody could kind of peel the tape off and just get in there and tamper with the evidence. We don't want that to happen. We want to ensure its integrity. So what I'm going to do as an evidence collector is I'm going to take a marker, and now I'm going to sign on that tape above and below, so that way the marker goes on the bag above, the tape, and the bag below. So when I do this, I need to sign really super big. And so now you can see that there's my name above, below, and on the tape. This makes it much harder for somebody to unseal it and reseal it in the exact same position as where I was writing. Okay, so that's one way that we ensure the integrity of our evidence. Now, the next thing is this just looks like a lunch bag. Who knows what's on the inside? This is where the evidence log comes in. Today we're going to be working in teams of 3 to help solve this crime. The reason 3 is that we've got 3 possible locations. So once you divide up into your teams, figure out who's going to be A, who's going to be B, and who's going to be C. Now, on the evidence log, I'm going to bring this nice and close so that way you can see it. On the evidence log, you're going to record our case number. Everyone has the same case number. It's going to be 020717. The inventory number is what is going to be different. So for some of you, you're going to be going to the LMC. The LMC is going to be inventory number 1. Some of you are going to be going to the Student Center, and that's going to be inventory 002. Some of you will go to inventory 3, and that's going to be the Cougar Commons. So the number you record here is based upon where you're going. If you forget, come back to this video and check it out at about 9 minutes. That's where I'm indicating where you go based upon your number. So A's go to number 1, B's go to number 2, and C's go to number 3. Okay? After that, you have to identify what's actually in the bag. So this is going to be item number 1, and then you're going to identify what is actually in the bag. So you're going to just say carpet lift. After that, you're going to identify the date of recovery, the time of recovery. You're also going to identify what the location of the recovery was. So that's going to be either the LMC, the Student Center, or the Cougar Commons. You're going to write down your name as the person that recovered that piece of evidence. Who's our subject? Well, we don't know who did it yet, so it's going to be an unknown subject. our victim is Jane Doe. They haven't released the information. We don't know who it was. And then what's the type of offense? Homicide. So on this example, when you're looking at it, this is gonna be for later. I'm gonna talk about that after you've done your collection. So you're gonna wanna record this information. And I would even come back to the video and record this information as best as I can before I even go out to do the carpet lift. That way it's all filled out and ready to go. Then all I have to do when I'm at my area or my space, if I'm at the LMC, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flip my bag around from the side that I signed it on, and I'm gonna replace that evidence label up here and keep that on the bag as well. Now my bag is labeled. At this point, I can come back to class, and then you're gonna have to analyze your evidence. Now, usually the investigators don't actually do the analysis. This information, or the evidence bags, would get sent to the state crime lab. We have one crime lab in the state of Wisconsin, Rock County. We actually ship all of our evidence via UPS. So they use Brown. Kind of interesting that they're transporting the evidence that's used then to convict people in a courtroom. So interesting that they consider that safe enough. But the documentation helps with the integrity. Once you come back, you're gonna get back together. A, you're gonna hand your evidence bag to person B. B, you're gonna hand your evidence bag to person C. And C, you're gonna go back and give your bag to person A. That's because I want you to fill out what's called the chain of custody. So the chain of custody then shows who has been in this evidence bag, who has had it in terms of handling it, okay? So